The afternoon sun streamed through the wooden windows of the small dojo, lighting up the tatami floor, worn down from years of training. The rhythmic sound of brooms echoed, a reminder that this space wasn't just for fighting, it was also for discipline and order. Maya, 15 years old, moved quietly, helping her mother with the cleaning. Few people noticed her presence. It was as if she were just another part of the room. Even in the silence, Maya paid close attention to everything. Every move the students made, every instruction from the sensei, she stored it all in her mind. From a young age, she had learned to see meaning in details that others overlooked. Her curious eyes missed nothing. But no one could have guessed that behind her quiet demeanor lay something far greater. Maya held a deeply kept secret. Since she was little, she had been trained by the dojo's former owner, a legendary master who believed in her dedication. Away from everyone's eyes, she practiced movements, refined techniques, and learned the heart of true martial arts. Not just the strikes, but patience, discipline, and above all, humility. The dojo held a sacred feeling, with old scrolls on the walls and the familiar scent of wood mixed with the sweat of training. Here, respect was the foundation of every action. But in the day-to-day routine, Maya was just the cleaning lady's daughter, an unimportant detail in the rushed gaze of the students. Still, it didn't bother her. Her time had not yet come. Sometimes while sweeping the tatami, Maya remembered the old master's words. "True strength is silent. The shout of arrogance may shake hearts, but the silence of humility moves mountains." Those words echoed in her mind like a mantra. Each one shaped how she carried herself through life. The current sensei, who had inherited the dojo, respected Maya and her mother, but never revealed the secret of her training. He believed the right time would come for the truth to emerge. So he simply watched her quietly, aware that she carried a rare flame within her. Despite her youth, Maya already understood the weight of discretion. Her life was one of sacrifice and resilience. She didn't have expensive clothes or recognition from others, but she had something no one could take away, the inheritance of a pure and true teaching. That day, the dojo seemed as peaceful as ever. Students trained amid laughter, Maya's mother worked in silence, and the sensei observed with his wise gaze. Everything seemed to follow its usual rhythm, with no one suspecting that this calm was about to be broken.
Maya smoothed her hair and sat in the corner, watching the training session. Every strike on the mat, every fall, every controlled breath, it was like a symphony she understood perfectly. In that silence, she found strength. But deep down, Maya felt that something was about to change. Destiny wouldn't allow her skill to stay hidden forever. Soon, the world around her would be challenged by an unexpected presence. And if you also believe that even the quietest people hold surprising strength, subscribe to the channel now. Here, you'll discover stories that prove true greatness comes from where you least expect it. The dojo gate swung open with a loud bang, shattering the harmony of the training. A young man walked in with confident steps, wearing expensive clothes and a look of superiority. His name was Lucas, and his presence immediately put everyone on edge. The students stopped to watch him, while the sensei remained calm and composed. Lucas came from a wealthy, influential family that had just moved to town for business reasons. He'd trained in martial arts since childhood at top-tier academies, and he carried not just skill, but obvious arrogance. He walked around the dojo as if he owned the place, scanning every detail with disdain. "So this is the famous dojo," he said mockingly. "Looks more like an old museum." The students exchanged uneasy glances. To them, this place was sacred, full of tradition and honor. The sensei greeted him calmly and explained the basic rules of respect. But Lucas barely listened. He was already moving to the center of the mat, eager to show off his skills. "I want to spar," he announced with a haughty air. "Who's the strongest here?" One of the more experienced students stepped up and accepted the challenge. The match started quickly, but within seconds, Lucas effortlessly took him down. Looks of shock spread throughout the room. Instead of being humble, Lucas laughed loudly and mocked the student on the ground. "Is that all you've got? What a joke! I thought this place had some real skill." Anger began to simmer among those watching, but Lucas didn't stop. He challenged 2 more students, defeating them just as easily, growing more arrogant with each win. For him, winning wasn't enough. He had to humiliate. In the corner, Maya watched quietly. Her eyes caught every move, every flaw hidden behind Lucas's overconfidence. But for now, she chose to stay silent, even with her heart racing.
The audience of students and parents began to murmur. Some were outraged, others felt ashamed. Lucas's presence seemed to grow, as if he had taken over the entire dojo. It was clear that to him, nothing there held any value. But Maya knew that sooner or later he would cross a line from which there was no return. Seeing the situation slipping out of control, the sensei rose calmly. His serene expression stood in stark contrast to the anger spreading among the students. He walked to the center of the mat and faced Lucas, who still wore a mocking smile. "Young man," the sensei said, "here we don't measure strength alone. Here we cultivate respect, humility, and discipline. Your technique is refined, but your heart is empty." Lucas laughed loudly, completely ignoring the respectful tone of the master. "Humility? Discipline? That's just an excuse for those who aren't strong," he shot back, raising his arms in defiance. "The world doesn't respect the weak." His words cut through the students like blades. To them, the sensei was the embodiment of honor. Seeing someone mock his wisdom hurt more than any defeat. In the corner, Maya quietly clenched her fists. "This dojo carries the legacy of generations. It was built with sweat, blood, and respect. You are still young. You don't understand the value of that yet." Lucas took a step forward, closing distance. "If this legacy is so valuable, why did everyone here fall before me?" he asked sarcastically. "Tradition doesn't win fights. Modern technique and money do." The murmurs in the room grew louder. Some students were about to step in, but the sensei raised his hand, asking for silence. His composure seemed unshaken, even in the face of such arrogance. As for Maya, she felt her heart race. The sensei, a symbol of everything she valued, had been insulted in front of everyone. The fire within her began to ignite, ready for what was yet to come. The dojo fell silent after Lucas's words. His arrogance hung in the air like an open wound in the hearts of everyone present. While the students struggled to process the insult to their sensei, Maya's mother continued her routine, sweeping the tatami mats with quiet patience. Her face was calm, but inside, she carried the weight of shame and pain. Noticing the simple woman in her worn uniform, Lucas decided to direct his venom at her, too. "So this is the greatness of this place," he said, pointing toward her. "A dojo that prides itself on having a cleaning lady as its guardian?" The students reacted with angry murmurs, but few dared to speak up. Maya's mother stopped sweeping, lowered her head, and stayed silent. Watching from the side, Maya felt a knot form in her throat. Her mother,
who had never asked anything from anyone, was now the target of public mockery. "No wonder everyone here is so weak," Lucas went on, laughing. "If even the cleaning is done by someone who knows nothing about honor, how can you expect to learn anything of value?" His words cut deep into Maya's heart. Maya tightened her grip on the broom, but kept her eyes down, choosing not to react. For her, dignity meant doing her job well, not answering insults. But for Maya, silence no longer felt like enough. The students exchanged uneasy glances, some ashamed of not defending the woman who kept their dojo clean. The sensei, too, watched quietly, as if waiting for something greater to emerge from that moment. Maya felt her blood boil. Her body trembled, not from fear, but from outrage. It was as if Lucas's words had struck a match inside her soul, igniting a flame that could no longer be contained. With every mocking laugh, Maya remembered the old master's teachings. True fighting isn't just with the body, it's with the soul. Those who attack another's honor have already lost even before the fight begins. Now she understood the weight of those words. Deep in her heart, a decision took shape. Maya could no longer remain invisible. The time had come to show that humility did not mean weakness. The tatami was heavy with tension, yet no one dared to confront Lucas. The wealthy young man strutted in circles, laughing and taunting, convinced he had completely dominated the space. Then, Maya took a step forward. The sound of her movement caught everyone's attention. Surprised students glanced at each other, unable to believe what they were seeing. The cleaning lady's daughter, always quiet, always in the background, was now stepping on to the center of the mat. Her posture was firm, her eyes determined. The silence was over. Now there was only resolve. Lucas's eyes widened for a moment. Then he smirked mockingly. "You've got to be kidding me," he said, crossing his arms. "Even the little cleaning girl wants to play fighter now?" Maya didn't answer. Her silence spoke louder than any words. She glanced at her mother, who watched nervously, and then at the sensei, whose expression remained calm. There was a different light in his eyes, as if he already knew what was about to happen. "You actually want to fight me?" Lucas taunted, laughing. "Are you ready to get humiliated in front of everyone?" The students began to murmur. Some urged Maya to back down, worried for her safety. Others secretly hoped she would surprise Lucas, though they didn't dare believe it could happen. The dojo was split between doubt and hope. Maya took a deep breath and settled into her stance, just as she'd learned since childhood. Every movement was filled with discipline. Every breath a reminder of her secret training with the old master. Her body might have looked fragile, but her spirit was unbreakable. Confident and smug, Lucas raised his fists. "All right then, girl. Don't say I didn't warn you. I'll end this in seconds." His arrogant smile made it clear he didn't see her as any kind of threat. But for Maya, this wasn't just a fight. It was her chance to defend her mother's honor, the sensei's dignity, and the soul of the dojo itself. The weight of that responsibility was immense, but it also gave her strength. A tense silence filled the room. Everyone waited for the match to begin. Maya adjusted her posture one last time and spoke in a firm, clear voice for the first time. "I'm not fighting for myself. I'm fighting for the honor you've stained." The battle was about to begin. Lucas looked at Maya like an insect trying to stand its ground. His smirk only grew wider at the sight of her serious expression. "You really think you can take me on? You're just the cleaning lady's daughter. You're nothing but dust on this mat." The students stirred, some telling Maya to quit, others curious to see how far her courage would take her. Her mother, frightened, shook her head in disbelief, though she knew deep down she couldn't stop what had already been set in motion. The sensei watched intently, silent, as if waiting for something greater to unfold. Lucas took a few steps forward, rolling his shoulders and loosening up. "Don't worry," he said sarcastically. "I'll go easy on you. I'm going to show you the difference between someone who's been properly trained and someone who was born to kneel."
Maya held her stance, steady and silent. Her eyes didn't flinch as she watched her opponent with calm intensity. Her quietness annoyed Lucas more than any words could have. He wanted everyone to feel his superiority, but Maya's calm seemed unshakable. "All right then, little girl," Lucas shouted, raising his fists. "Get ready to be humiliated in front of everyone." The tension in the dojo grew thicker. The audience held their breath, sensing that this match would be different from all the others. Lucas's arrogance clashed with Maya's quiet focus, creating an almost suffocating atmosphere. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the old master's words. "Don't fight to show strength. Fight to reveal the truth." When she opened them again, her posture was flawless, proof that she wasn't there to play games. Lucas laughed, shaking his head. "How pathetic. Let's get this over with." He charged forward aggressively, ready to overpower his opponent. The first strike was about to be thrown, and everyone in the dojo knew this moment would change everything. The silence broke with the sharp sound of Lucas's feet hitting the mat. He rushed forward, throwing a straight punch right at Maya. The audience held their breath, expecting her to fall with the first move. But with surprising grace, she shifted her body just enough to let the strike pass through empty air. A murmur spread through the dojo. Lucas frowned, caught off guard by the dodge, but quickly laughed it off. "Beginner's luck," he said, spinning to launch another attack. This time, a series of fast, precise punches. Yet Maya kept evading calmly, as if she could predict every move. With every dodge, the students' hearts beat faster. Some exchanged looks of disbelief, starting to realize that this girl might not be as fragile as she seemed. Annoyed, Lucas intensified his strikes, swinging harder, determined to hit her at any cost. Maya breathed deeply, controlling every step, every shift. Her mind stayed focused, recalling her secret training with the old master. It wasn't strength that carried her. It was patience and strategy. Her calm stood in contrast to Lucas's growing frustration. "Stop running away," he yelled, throwing a high kick that sliced through the air. Once again, Maya dropped at just the right moment, drawing gasps of surprise from the crowd. Watching silently, the sensei recognized in her movements the refined techniques of his old teacher. It was like watching the past come alive before his eyes, a glimmer of hope rising in the face of Lucas's arrogance.
Maya's mother watched in stunned silence, tears welling in her eyes. She had never imagined seeing her daughter put herself out there like this, but she had also never seen her look so strong, so determined. Lucas, now furious, charged forward brutally, trying to overpower her with years of trained force. But to his surprise, Maya remained untouched, evading with the same calm as before. Every one of his mistakes became more obvious, every burst of uncontrolled strength more predictable. The audience no longer saw just the cleaning lady's daughter. They were watching a quiet fighter beginning to reveal her true strength. And the fight, far from over, was only just beginning. Sweat dripped down Lucas's forehead, something unusual for him, used to quick and easy wins. Every attack he threw seemed to hit nothing but air as Maya dodged with precise calculation. Her coolness contrasted sharply with her opponent's rising anger. He was starting to lose control. "Stop hiding behind all those dodges," Lucas shouted, lunging with a combination of strikes. The audience, used to seeing his brutality win out, now watched in disbelief. Maya, with light and steady steps, seemed to dance across the mat, using his own strength against him. The students, once discouraged, began to rally. Some whispered in admiration, others cheered silently, afraid Lucas might notice. This was no longer just a fight, it was a clash of philosophies, arrogance versus humility. Maya remembered her master's lessons. Anger is like an uncontrolled fire. It burns bright, but dies quickly. Calm is like water, patient, adaptable, and eternal. Every move she made reflected those words, and her confidence grew with each passing second. Lucas, despite the effort, refused to accept her resilience. "You think you can beat me just by running away?" he snarled, throwing a low kick followed by a straight punch. For the first time, Maya raised her arm and blocked the attack, showing she wasn't just avoiding, she knew how to defend herself with strength. The impact surprised everyone. The sound of the block echoed through the dojo, and Lucas stepped back for a moment, stunned by the girl's power. He tried to cover it up with a nervous laugh, but the tension in his eyes gave him away. On the other hand, Maya didn't get carried away by the moment. She kept her breathing calm, as if this were just another training session. Her serenity was her greatest weapon, and now even the biggest skeptics were starting to see it.
The sensei smiled faintly, recognizing that the legacy of the dojo's former owner was alive before everyone's eyes. Lucas, however, refused to accept this reality. To him, being outperformed by someone from a humble background was more humiliating than any defeat. "I'm ending this now," he yelled, charging forward once more. But the harder he pushed, the more Maya revealed her true superiority. The fight reached a critical point. Consumed by anger, Lucas threw a powerful strike, putting all his strength into a direct punch. Maya tried to dodge, but the blow grazed her, throwing her off balance and sending her tumbling onto the mat. The entire dojo held its breath. The silence was broken by Lucas's laughter as he raised his arms in premature victory. "I told you, there's no place here for people like you." Maya stayed down for a few seconds, feeling the pain pulse through her body. Her eyes closed, and in her mind echoed the old master's words. "The moment when all seems lost is when you must show your true strength." Taking a deep breath, she felt calm return to her heart. In the corner, her mother covered her mouth in despair. The students, torn between hope and worry, began to fear the worst had happened. Even the sensei, though composed, showed concern in his watchful gaze. Lucas approached slowly, confident the fight was already over. "Get up if you can, or stay right there, where you've always belonged, on the ground." It was then that Maya opened her eyes, revealing a renewed determination. Slowly, she pushed herself up from the mat and rose, ignoring the pain. Her movements were steady, her breathing controlled. The whole dojo held its breath, stunned by her resilience. "I'm not on the ground," Maya said, her voice firmer than ever. "I'm only getting started." Lucas frowned, annoyed by her persistence. "Useless stubbornness. I'll finish this now." He prepared to attack again, but this time his overconfidence didn't seem so solid. Maya settled back into her stance, remembering every secret training session, every fall she'd taken, every lesson learned in silence. Her body may have been hurt, but her spirit remained unbroken. The audience, who had once doubted her, now saw something different in her eyes. It wasn't just resilience. It was the promise that this fight was far from over.
Lucas charged forward again, certain that this time there would be no more resistance.
His strikes were fast, violent, and heavy, but Maya was no longer just dodging. Her eyes tracked every movement as if she already knew exactly where he would strike. Just as Lucas tried to land a direct punch to her face, Maya caught his arm with surgical precision. In one fluid motion, she turned her body and locked him into a rare joint lock technique, one taught only by the dojo's old master. The effect was immediate. Lucas cried out in surprise and pain. The entire dojo fell silent. No one had ever seen that move before. It was as if Maya had awakened something hidden, an ancient knowledge buried deep within her soul. The sensei, moved, recognized it instantly. It was one of the most refined and difficult techniques to master. Lucas struggled, trying to break free. "What are you doing?" he yelled, his voice a mix of pain and disbelief. But the more he moved, the tighter the lock became. The arrogance that had fueled him seemed to crumble with every passing second. The students watched with wide eyes. That girl, once invisible, was now the center of everyone's attention. This wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a revelation. The cleaning lady's daughter carried within her the legacy of a legendary master. There was no hatred in Maya's movements. Her face remained calm, even as she held her opponent with absolute control. For her, this wasn't about humiliation, it was about teaching. It was the victory of humility over arrogance. Desperate, Lucas tried to break loose using all his strength, but the technique was flawless. Every effort only trapped him further. The audience began to murmur, realizing the fight had taken a completely unexpected turn. The sensei lifted his chin with pride and whispered to himself, "Finally, the dojo has found its true heir."
The whole room seemed to vibrate with Lucas's shouts. He writhed on the mat, his face red with anger and shame. "Let me go!" he demanded, his voice filled with desperation. But Maya didn't yield. She held the lock firmly, controlling every movement with precision. The crowd watched in shock. Some students began to smile faintly, as if finally seeing justice served. Others still couldn't believe what they were witnessing, unable to accept that the arrogant boy was being defeated by the one everyone had overlooked. Lucas tried to force his way out with all the brutality he possessed. His muscles trembled from the effort, but Maya's technique was like an impenetrable barrier. The harder he fought, the more trapped he became. It was his own arrogance turning into a prison.
"This can't be happening," he yelled, looking around as if searching for support from the others. But all he found were looks of surprise, admiration, and even contempt. He was alone, and now the humiliation was his. Maya, still silent, kept her gaze steady. There was no cruelty in her expression, only determination. Her body conveyed a lesson words could never teach. True strength isn't shown off, it's revealed at the right moment. The students began to applaud, first timidly, then together in unison. The whole dojo echoed with claps that celebrated not only Maya's victory, but also the fall of the arrogance that had poisoned the atmosphere. Lucas, enraged, shouted even louder, his voice sounding like a last desperate plea. "This isn't fair! I'm better than her!" But his words carried no weight anymore. No one believed in his superiority now. Maya increased the pressure slightly, just enough to show she had complete control. Lucas felt defeat not just in his body, but in his heart. For the first time, he was truly helpless. The sensei, rising from the crowd, declared in a firm voice, "The match is over, and today we've all learned who truly carries the honor of this dojo." The dojo erupted in applause as Maya, still composed, kept Lucas completely immobilized. There was no doubt left in anyone's mind. The girl who had always gone unnoticed was now the true winner. Her victory didn't come with shouts or showboating.
but with the calmness of someone fighting for something greater than herself. Lucas, sweaty and defeated, tried to mask his pain with anger, but his body wouldn't respond. The audience no longer saw an arrogant champion, just a boy lost in his own pride. The humiliation he had so freely handed out had now come back to him tenfold. Maya, sensing the lesson had been taught, slowly released the arm lock. Lucas collapsed onto the mat, gasping for air, exhausted and humiliated. But she didn't celebrate. She didn't raise her arms the way he used to. She simply knelt down quietly, as if offering the victory to the dojo itself, not to herself. The students began to gather around her, forming a circle. Many bowed their heads in respect, finally recognizing the greatness in someone who had been invisible to them until now. The silence that followed Maya, in itself, was a victory cry. Her mother, overcome with emotion, let the broom fall from her hands. Tears streamed freely down her face, but they were tears of pride. For the first time, she wasn't just the cleaning lady. She was the mother of the girl who had saved the honor of the dojo.
The dojo was still buzzing with the emotion of Maya's victory. The audience, students, parents, and onlookers felt like they had witnessed something far greater than just a fight. It was as if the tradition and true spirit of that place had been reborn right before their eyes. Maya stayed by her mother's side, receiving hugs and words of respect from people who had barely noticed her before. Her heart was beating fast, not from the recognition, but from the feeling that she had protected what mattered most, her mother's dignity and the honor of the dojo. The sensei approached Lucas, who remained seated in the corner, defeated and silent. In a firm but not unkind voice, he said, "Defeat teaches us more than victory ever can. What you do with this lesson will determine who you become from now on." Lucas, ashamed, didn't answer. His eyes, once full of arrogance, now reflected doubt and vulnerability. For the first time, he seemed to be questioning himself. Maybe, deep down, he had taken his first step toward change. The students gathered around Maya, not just to congratulate her, but to apologize for never truly seeing her before. Humbly, she simply smiled and said, "I didn't fight to be seen. I fought so everyone would remember what respect means." Her mother, overcome with emotion, hugged her tightly. Tears streamed down her face, but now they were tears of pride and relief. For the first time, she wasn't just the invisible cleaning lady. She was the mother of the warrior who had restored honor to this place. The sensei closed the gathering with words that would echo forever. Arrogance may win battles, but humility wins hearts. Today, Maya showed us the true way of the warrior. The audience left the dojo in respectful silence, carrying with them a lesson they would never forget. The afternoon breeze drifted through the windows, bringing with it the feeling that a new era had begun in that place. As Maya looked out across the tatami mats, she knew her journey was only just beginning. But deep inside, she carried the certainty that the greatest weapon she possessed could never be defeated: humility. If this story moved you and showed you how humility can overcome even the most brutal arrogance, don't miss what's next. Subscribe now and join us on this journey of heartfelt stories that will touch your soul. Because just like Maya's story, every video here carries a lesson that might just change how you see the world.